Our black are Corsairs with Handbows and a good and past 6.0.5. I wanted/needed to do this video separately because while it's related to the melee unit, its use is fundamentally different. Instead of avoiding bad matchups, this unit is actively hunting matchups in its favor, including just plain positioning itself to fire at flanks and backs. Unlike Dark Shards, or for that matter, regular missile cavalry, this is a 360-degree fire whilst moving unit, and you need to take full advantage of that fact. Recruited for 750 gold and 188 upkeep. On Ultra, this gets you 100 entities at 6,900 hit points. Yes, those numbers should be familiar, but the point being, it's not less than the regular Black Ark Corsairs. Armor is 80, Leadership 66, which is not exceptional or horror bad. Speed 40, charge speed 46. Melee attack begins at 32, with an attack interval of 4.4. Aside from being the tiniest smidgen slower, this is Empire Swordsman level melee attack, and that's important because this is a hybrid missile unit. It will soundly outfight many rival missile units. There is no splash damage. Melee defense begins at 28, and we wish this was higher. Weapon strength weighs in at 32, split base 25 and armor piercing 7. Figures we last saw with the Bleakswords, with the base damage being unusually high for sword infantry. Sadly, but not unexpectedly, there is no bonus versus infantry here. Charge bonus is a highly respectable 16, and mass is 100. Now, for the Handbows. Range is only 70 for us. Ammunition comes at 16 to start. Missile damage is 20 officially, with each hit being 9 base and 3 AP damage. It works out this way because, like other Dark Elf ranged weapons, each count of ammunition fires a volley of 2 projectiles. Reload time is 12. Total accuracy is given as the standard 20, calibration distance of 40 means that they're more inaccurate past that range. Calibration area of 4 means that they are oddly inaccurate in the sense of not being good footlord hitters, but being designed to pepper entire units, and there is no multi-modal penetration. Besides hide and forest and murderous prowess, as I mentioned, this is a fire whilst moving, 360-degree shooting unit, and therefore is built for fast infantry flanking and firing at distances that may or may not be safe, depending on what your opposition is. All that said, unlike the regulars, they're going to be hurting enemy archers on the way in, strafing ranks of infantry in the back as they pass, and so on, relying on their armor and speed to avoid the worst of ranged damage, and staying out of melee until things are in their favor. Of course, if they're going after missile units in skirmish mode with their melee attacks, if the enemy cannot fire behind them as they flee, then it's going to be a one-sided romp. In the redline skills, bear with me. The Handbow version is covered by 2 early section skills. Line Breaker, which at 3 pips provides plus 6 melee attack and plus 6 melee defense, and Sheaf Master, which provides up to plus 20% ammunition and 8% reload time reduction at 3 pips. Now, for the last video I made a small boo-boo because Line Breaker made me reuse Call the Unworthy, but both Corsairs actually fall under Ravager rewards like Shades do. At rank 7, it's armor plus 10, speed plus 10%, and for Handbows, range plus 15%. In the tech tree, Driven by Vengeance adds plus 4 melee attack and shaves 5% off recruitment cost, Marching to War is 10% speed in battle, Ascension through battle is plus 5 leadership, Chartered Piracy is upkeep minus 5% plus sacking benefits, Naval Training is plus 2 recruit rank plus a global plus 4 to melee attack when fighting at sea, Forged to Kill grants 10% melee weapon strength and plus 10% missile strength. Exotic Beast-Hide Armor adds plus 10 armor. Now, one thing that is different is that this unit falls under reworked crossbows, one of the most essential technologies in the faction because of its effect on Dark Shards and Shades, but Corsairs also get plus 20% ammunition and plus 15% range. That's all for the regular stuff, but if you're familiar with Names of Power, there's some fun that can be had from that too, and of course Lokir does special buffs I'll cover separately at some point. So how do we use Black Ark Corsairs with Handbows? This is a flanking unit that, despite the short range of its ranged weapon, does ferocious damage with 100 entities, hardly a small number, with the Dark Elves' trademark double projectile crossbows. The reload time is an impediment, but unless the enemy has a good way to kill them, they will keep firing with impunity. Obviously catching them spoils this, and while the unit is far better in melee than some, it's still inefficient for the unit to be beating away dog units rather than firing. Obviously, cavalry good at tearing through armor will give them hell. Obviously, handgunner units will feast on their armor and lack of shields if their rounds connect. Short of that, the enemy has some serious problems. The unit is neither elite enough to justify shooting everything on it to the exclusion of something else, nor harmless enough that ignoring it is a good idea longer term. For variety, you can always charge into the back of engaged troops, then pull back from that fight, firing bows into exposed backs at opportune moments, because fire whilst moving also means fire whilst tactically advancing in the other direction. Point being, with handbows, you want to be the predator, not the prey. You want to exploit these matchups and take advantage of the angles dark shards can't, and you're still fast enough to catch crossbowmen with their bolt stab. Now, what happens when you can't do this effectively? You have entirely decent units that can fire above your lines, just not very far, if that is a good option. Since they're not openly incompetent at any aspect, they can roam around protecting your backlines from dogs, bats, and similar forces that attack with thin armor and swarming potential. The Corsairs shooting or slicing as the situation requires, so anti-air is not wasted with them. I mean, Furies and Harpies have a lot of wingspan for clipping their wings. They are no good at speed 50 and higher situations. They're no good at ranges beyond 100 meters. They're no good against Black Orcs with great weapons in melee. Everything else, they're at least relevant, and that's an interesting place to be. Take care, and have fun shooting people and then slicing apart their friends. A good enough hybrid unit can do all of that in the span of 10 seconds.